Hey, Pam, where's individual picture? Today's looks 20 years older than 2 years ago. Can I keep my hair?
I don't care. I'm not using mine if he can't touch up my scars.
Hey, important thing first. I'll get a letter.
All right, folks, I have 3 o'clock. We'll go ahead and call the January session of the Pope County Quorum Court to order. I ask you to please stand for a prayer by Justice Heflin and remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance. I call on Justice Heflin.
Bow with me, please. Father, as we come before you, dear Jesus, with thankful hearts, dear Father, for all the gifts that you give us each day, Lord. And we just pray as in this coming 2023, Lord, that you'd be with us, Lord, in our decision-making, Father, for the court and for the county pope, Father. And we pray, Lord, that you'd protect those who protect us. All these favors we ask you in Christ's holy name. Amen.
Amen. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Please be seated. Ask clerk to call the roll.
Aaron Carruthers.
Here.
Alan George.
Here.
Philip Haney.
Here.
Jackie Heflin.
Here.
David Ivey.
Here.
Jamie Jackson.
Here.
Margaret Motley.
Here.
Lane Scott.
Here.
Jordan Sowers.
Here.
Bill Sparks.
Here.
Blake Tarpley.
Here.
Tim Wittenberg.
Here.
Ronnie Wilbanks.
Here.
Recognize the presence of a quorum. You should have journal proceedings as emailed. Do I have any comments or questions?
Motion we accept is read.
Have a motion, have a second. To accept the journal proceedings as emailed. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Under committee reports, the committees have not met since this is the new year. And we'll move right into correspondence. Will be the treasurer's report by Treasurer Larry Holman.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. How are y'all today?
Good, sir.
The Treasury Report for the month of December of 2022. The gross sales and use tax receipts for the general fund for December was $437,647.70, or 10.81%, or $53,061.59 less than December of 2021. Year-to-date percent of projected revenue is 119.11%. Rebates totaled $140,923.55. And that has a lot to do with that deficit of $50,000. That's very unusual. You can look in your packet and you can see the average rebates over a 5-year period is less than $70,000, between $65,000 and $70,000. So that's kind of unusual. So that had some bearing on the sales tax drop, in my opinion, because of the big rebate. And I'll get to some other stuff related to that shortly. And audits totaled $155.09 for a total of $141,078.64 for an average monthly rebate and refunds for 5 years of $68,857.43. And the rebates and refunds are taken away from the sales tax before the distributions made to the cities and the counties. The road fund highway construction sales tax was less than last month by $5,097.39. with a gross distribution of $89,607.60. Year-to-date percent of projected revenue is 110.40%. Prisoner care revenue for December was $73,822. Year-to-date percent of projected revenue is 160.26%. And for your new court members, I believe last month, if you'll remember when we started this project, and Rowdy didn't know during the pandemic, the revenue flow was quite a bit down in 20 and 21, but it's come back up. But I left the projected revenue like it was in 21 because we didn't know what 22 held for us. So, but that's been adjusted, of course, for the 23 budget. The quarterly transfer from the general fund to surplus investment of $125,000 was completed in December of 2022. Interest earned on the checking account for 2022 is $840,310.43 compared to the 21 $416,025.78. Our deposits in our checking account or money that we receipted for Polk County for 2022 is $130,829,473.47, and for 21 is year was $123,824,762.77. Sales tax deposits for 2022 And this is the gross sales tax that the county received based on the 1% sales tax countywide. It's 14,067,849.28 compared to 2021 of 13,377,860.06 for the 1 cent countywide sales tax. The Office of Arkansas Lottery, you can see what November lottery ticket sales was for November for the whole state and also for the Polk County. You can check those two figures out on the two lines there. Percent of year-to-date projected revenue for the general fund was 112.67%. The road fund was 113.01%. Road 4-lane highway construction is 110.42%. The library fund was 104.37%. 911 is 101.82%, and EMS fund is 104.03%. And ladies and gentlemen, that's good. We have projected revenue, and your elected officials and your department heads, they stayed within their budgets, and the revenue stream was good. So that's a very positive thing. I got a couple other handouts for you, please. If you'll look, you'll see another one with a black clip on it. It says Polk County 2022 Budget Summary Report. I give it to the court every year when we meet in January. You can see the expenditures for 2022, and you can see the turnback for each one of the funds. You can just scan through that at your convenience. If you turn over to page 2 and about the middle, you can see the general fund is near a little over $1.1 million is the general fund turned back in their budget. Of course, the two big ones are the jail and the sheriff's office, and the election commission also. And then another documents that I got, it's probably about 10 or 12 pages, it's stapled together. It's called Local Distribution by the NAJCS, and that has to do with rebates that we just got through talking about. We get this every month, and this is what the report is I give for the rebates and audits that you get. And periodically, I'll give you a copy of this. If you look on the very front page, you see the big reason of the $140,000 in refunds is the fourth line item down from the top. You can see electric power generation, transmissions, and distributions of a little over $87,000 was reimbursed back. And the last thing, if you'll turn to the very last page of the financial statement, back to it, please, is the funds available. The Quorum Court passed the budgets, of course, in December 2022, and we work off of estimates for October, November, and December, both on revenue and expenditures. So, so we had a projection, I think, between $400,000 and $500,000 that we would have funds available. But if you see the funds available in the general fund, which is the first one, is right at $3.1 million. But you've got to take out about $2 million, and that's the ARP money. We'll try to keep that segregated so you'll kind of know where you stand on that ARP money. So, but anyway, you have about $1.1 million of funds available. There's a lot of things that went into that. Part of it is that turnback in the general fund of all the departments. That has a lot to do with it. But anyway, you have a list of all the funds, and we're using actual figures now because we closed the year out yesterday, so we got an actual, instead of projected balance for December the 31st, we have an actual balance at December 31st. So all those funds are the funds available for that, all the funds that you pass and appropriate. So, any questions?
Thank you, Larry.
Is it the sales tax is 2 months in arrears?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. What we collect in December is what we pay in October.
All right, so that's actually 2 months, 60 days.
Yes, sir. Yeah, you collect it on you in 1 month, you pay it to the state the next month, and then it's paid to us the following
So
month.
it's 60-day turnaround.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Any other questions for Treasurer Holman? As he stated, this is the best start in Polk County history.
The community of Polk County has stayed here and spent their money. That's the bottom line. And it's an awesome thing that they wanted to support our community here. And the surrounding people that come here and shop. Yes, sir.
And Larry, is it a safe interpretation that the top of your report there where it says gross use and sales receipts were 437,000, that equates to 43.7 million in sales that would have been in October.
That's correct.
So that's moving a lot of money within Polk County.
Yes, sir.
Any other comments or questions for Larry? Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
All right, comments from the public. I know Pam wanted to say something real quick. You want to come up to the podium, Pam? Those who didn't meet Pam the other night, Pam Luker is our cooperative extension agent, and she's laid out some of these procedural things for your benefit at your stations. Go ahead, Pam.
Yeah, I just wanted to point out that at your station, I have a little procedure pocket for parliamentary procedure. That is one thing that the Extension Office offers is education on community policy and economic development. So I supplied you guys with one of those. I also supplied you with an annual report that shows kind of what numbers we're reaching within the county from our office. So if you guys have any questions about that, you are welcome to come see me, call me, whatever. Okay?
Can you get me a copy of those?
Here.
Yes.
You don't need yours.
I have an extra copy too, Pam, if you'd like it. Okay.
Thanks,
Any
Pam.
You're welcome. Thank you.
All right, under unfinished business, I have none. And we'll go right into new business. Item number 1, I think it'd be simpler if we go section by section. So item number 1 is adopting procedural rules of the court for the term of 2 years. And thankfully, for everybody that was able to attend the meet and greet, I think we covered just about every issue in this. So, let me get that pulled up.
And y'all do have, everybody has a hard copy of it.
Should have a hard copy before you there that you can refer to. So I'll just start with section 1, rules of procedure. Is there any questions or comments under section 1? Section, language.
I just wonder if we're gonna vote on it section by section.
No, it'll be one whole procedure. Yep, item number 1 is. All right, section 2, as far as the meeting dates, they remain the first Thursday to the month at 5:30. We did, because there was an interfering holiday in July 4th, somewhere in there? We made that a consolidated meeting where committees would meet and then go right into the quorum court meeting because it was gonna fall in that 4th of July week and,
People out of town.
yeah, so that will be a combined meeting that date.
And then October, the October meeting, the budget meeting would have fell on Halloween. So we're backing the budget meeting up till that Monday. So we'll have the budget meeting on Monday, the 30th, and then the quorum court meeting will fall on the first Thursday of November. And I don't have that date in front of me.
Yeah, so July 4th would have normally been a budget and personnel committee meeting night on the 4th of July. So we moved the meeting of the whole till July 6th, that first Thursday of July. And that way, that's a combined meeting. And you were saying October?
Well, it'll be November's meeting, but the budget meeting was gonna be on Halloween.
Right.
Yeah.
So
We
you-
backed it up to Monday, the 20th.
Monday the 30th. And I believe you sent out that schedule, so you should have that schedule in your email. All right, any other questions about section 2?
Is the budget and personnel are in stone, then, are they?
No, we've not got to that part yet.
Technically,
The
you-
personnel is just whenever somebody sends a request in, and then I get with the personnel chair and they set it. Normally, they just wanna do it usually 15 minutes before the budget committee meeting. So that's,
And that's, the 2-day deal is just something we've been doing for budget. It's just kind of the norm that we've been using.
the what?
The 2-day previous to the quorum court meeting has just been kind of the norm we've been using.
Just to give the
Yeah.
clerk time to type the ordinances.
Yeah, I have to have a little bit of time.
Well, I didn't know if it could be earlier than that necessary.
Yeah, would it be better if we did it the week before?
The only problem with that is
It
you,
puts
you have
so many-
officials and department heads getting through their budget on items and looking at it, and then it would create more late item agendas, I think.
So it's better for you 2 days before.
Yeah, the way it's set is really good. The 1 days kill me, but we make it work. But the way they're set right now works really well, so
Okay,
Thank you.
so July sixth is the,
it'll be budget and
combined
quorum
budget
court, yeah.
and on October 30th.
Yeah, it'll be
that
a
will
Monday
the
night for the budget.
And then, quorum court
Will be on the
regular.
first Thursday.
Yeah.
And like I said, I did send that list out, so y'all should have had that already in your emails to look at. And it has the agenda deadline dates and all of that.
All right, any other questions under section 2? Section 3, special called meetings. There's a lot of discussion about this at the meet and greet, so right now it's still, if, of course, the county judge calling a meeting is in law, but as far as JP's calling a meeting, it was the majority of 7, and then the same majority of 7 to cancel said meeting.
You know what I think, and I'll repeat it again for everybody that's here. I think 7 is a majority. It's a bare majority. If 7 people want to have a meeting and 5 of them decide as it comes up, we don't want to have a meeting now, 2 people, or even 1 person could require that we have a meeting. I think that if we say 24 hours before the time of the meeting, if there are no longer 7 people that want it, it should be canceled. Otherwise, it's a waste of time.
And I think the only argument I heard in the meet and greet reference that was, if 7 people come down and sign up to have a meeting, you're committing the other 6 to the meeting.
Yeah.
And so it should be the same 7 to call off the meeting.
You gotta have 7 show up for the quorum anyway, don't you?
And in his situation, well, he just said if 5 decided not to, but 2 still said, we'll do it, and you've already committed to the other 6, then you've got 8.
But now, and I'm reading this, the same 7 majority to cancel the meeting, so the same 7 people that signed up to have to be the same 7 people to cancel it, or?
Uh,
I think that's what Bill brought up, is it needs to be the same 7, because he can't cancel out your vote, so to speak.
Right. The only time this has happened that I was involved in,
Right.
I had COVID. I was in quarantine the night at that meeting that I had signed on as one of 7. I couldn't be here because I was quarantined, you know.
And I guess that goes to my, kind of the question I was having is now, if we decide to cancel the meeting and you can't be here.
There you go.
You can't come down to sign it, or I guess you could call down and tell them,
Yeah,
hey,
you
take my
can
number.
Because
Okay,
Bill did notify me by email on that one.
yeah,
But I had 2 of the 7 that did not want it canceled.
okay.
So
And I would have come,
I'm
We-
fine.
we
either
had
because
way.
I was one of
majority
the requesting
here for the
7.
meeting.
I
Yeah.
think you owe it to.
What we need to do?
Well, if it's the wishes of the court, we'll leave it as is.
well, with this change.
I mean, I don't think we'll know unless we vote.
Okay.
So if y'all wanna vote on this section, we can vote on this section to keep this as it is in the
Present form.
present form, or whatever changes.
Present form being 7 to call a meeting, 7 to
Right.
cancel it.
The same 7.
The same 7.
Same 7,
Yes.
I'm for that, yeah.
Okay. So I would entertain a motion to, the effect of keeping section 3 as written. If there's anybody that wishes to make that motion.
Motion, Jackson. Second, Wittenberg.
So having a motion and a second to keep section 3 as written. It will take a simple majority to pass this motion. I ask the clerk to call the roll.
Aaron Carruthers,
I will say nay.
Alan George,
Yes.
Philip Haney,
Yes.
Jackie Heflin,
Yes.
David Ivy.
I think there can be extenuating circumstances, so I'm gonna say no.
Jamie Jackson,
Yes.
Margaret Motley,
Yes.
Lane Scott,
No.
Jordan Sowers,
Yes.
Bill Sparks,
No.
Blake Tarpley,
Yes.
Tim Wittenberg.
Yes.
Ronnie Wilbanks.
Yes.
9-4.
9-4, motion carries. All right, section 4. Any questions about section 4? And there are times where the county clerk has to have somebody come in her stead, so we work through that. All right, section 5, any questions? Section 6, any questions?
I do have one question.
Yes, sir.
As far as section 6, 10 days before Quorum Court to get it on the agenda. Actually, 2 questions. What's our setup for public dissemination of the agenda, or is there one? In other words, once the agenda's set,
Once I send it out, it's public. I send it to y'all, I send it to the meeting, or to the media, whoever calls and requests it. If they want, I'll send it to them.
should we have a date that has to be sent out by prior to a meeting? Like, in other
5
words, if we-
days,
like
maybe.
if the day, the 5th of January is our meeting, is there a deadline as to when it has to be available to the public?
I think it's typically 48 hours.
Yeah,
I don't know, that's what
mean,
I'm asking, I don't know.
Yeah.
cause that's just like the
Is that
Quorum
an
Court
ordinance, or
agenda.
is that state law?
No, there's not, that I'm aware of. Cause like the Quorum Court agenda, I don't know what it is till Tuesday night. I get it ready Wednesday, send it out, and y'all have court on Thursday. So there's kind of a,
So we
on
know
my
that there's,
agendas.
let's see, by law, the public has to be notified that there is a meeting, 48 hours, is that correct?
Mhm.
But
48.
the agenda, there's no deadline for when the agenda has to be posted to the public. I would like to see, I think that's a good idea. I think that ought to be.
Well,
that ought to
it
be
goes
pretty
out on the
good.
website. As soon as I send it to y'all, it's on the county website. The agenda's on there.
But there's nothing to say it needs to be, like here it says 10
Oh.
days before you have to get something on the agenda. There's nothing that says it will be published 48 hours ahead of the meeting. That's what, I think that'd be a good idea. So the public, the people that pay our salaries, that elected us, could have access to that 48 hours ahead of time.
I mean, I don't have no problem, cause it is. I mean, cause like I said, as soon as I get it, the agenda set, I send it to y'all, it gets posted to the county website.
Let's put that in here.
So it's already done.
Yeah.
So am I understanding you want a motion to amend section 6 to include public notification shall be within 48 hours of a meeting?
Yeah.
Is that what I'm hearing?
Yes. That's my
Now,
motion.
the only thing is, with the exception if it's a special call, that thing within the 24 hours, there's no way. So,
Don't y'all think 48 hours is reasonable to,
Right now, we're putting it out about a week ahead of time.
I
Yeah,
know.
so-
Right, right.
and I appreciate the way we're doing it, but again, you're doing it because that's how you're doing it, and not via ordinance or anything like that, correct?
just like I said, the only thing that would contradict is if there's a
Right,
special
right.
meeting, I can't do
Understanding
that.
that.
And we could, I would be happy to have in my motion that, special meetings accepted.
So, just however y'all want this work.
Over the 10 years, I've had people ask how soon they have to know what we're gonna be talking about. There's not been an issue about a meeting, but just a lot of times it's casual conversation, but they.
Well, so you don't want her to give it out until 48 hours?
No.
No, that's
No.
not what
She's
I'm
giving
saying.
it out a week before now, right? Yeah.
I think they're wanting verbiage that says no less than
Yeah,
48 hours.
Okay,
I mean, we like what she's doing. but-
okay, that's what I was confused on, why we changing it up for. Ain't broke, don't fix it.
It's these Sunday meetings.
Yeah.
So do you need, where are we? Are we at the point of a second, or?
Well, so right now, we need a motion and the exact verbiage, so we can literally type it in here. Because when we pass this as ordinance, it will be as you speak it.
The agenda will be published no later than 48 hours before the meeting.
So, but we're at.
Special meetings accepted.
Exempted.
Exempted, yeah, whatever.
Special called meeting.
Special call meetings, yes.
So in section B probably, where it's the procedure for distribution.
Yes.
Can you not just add no less than 48 hours prior to the meeting? Something simple.
Yeah.
Now if I can type, it'll be good.
Is that gonna affect y'all's late, I'm sorry, is that gonna affect the late items? Is that gonna, that ain't gonna, okay, I just want.
No, because we're actually going to discuss something here shortly about everything having to go to committee, so it's going to have to be a special agenda item anyway.
I just want to make sure that we, I'm sitting here thinking.
Now this one, I would have to put it as the budget agenda deadline, because like I said, the quorum report when there's no way. So,
Yeah.
Do what now?
No less than 48 prior to the budget agenda. Right, because with the deal, there'd be no way she could get that.
Right, a lot of them, they all depend upon what comes out of budget.
Yeah, you specify that.
That'd
then
be
you
budget
don't-
and personnel.
Then you don't have to worry about the special call meeting.
Yeah, add it to the budget and personnel.
Yeah, it could be both.
and then this shall be made public, will be posted it to the county website. That work? No less than 48 hours prior to the budget and personnel agenda deadline, the agenda shall be made public via the county website excluding special called meetings. Let me go ahead and put a quorum report in there. That work?
Is that the verbiage?
I know that some of this seems minor, but there are also minor little things that out in the public people, you'll hear batted around at times, and it's really not going to affect us. You know, I mean, Pam's already doing these the way we like it.
Good job, Pam.
All right, item C of section 6. I think, Justice Ivy, you had something to say?
Well, what was it? I had a question.
Did I have a question too?
Okay, well, I guess the question, let me rattle my brain here a second. Oh, so we basically have two standing committees, budget and personnel. And so the way this is written, it says all items not approved by committee. So does this mean we have things that are going through budget or personnel that really have nothing to do with budget and personnel that have to be approved by one of those committees?
Well, that was going to be my question, because
Before we
there's
get to the agenda, that doesn't make any sense to me.
there's topics that come forth that have nothing to do with.
Why would they go through budget or personnel?
Yeah.
So
Well, they are listed, let me back up. They are listed on the budget agenda under items for consideration of full court. So it is actually kind of per se on the budget agenda under items
I
for
know,
full
but that's,
court.
then my question is that we want to paint that wall yellow.
Yeah,
That has nothing to do with the budget or the personnel. So
Yeah.
why is a budget or personnel committee hearing it? So any issues outside of a budget issue or a personnel
Personnel.
issue, we really
we
don't
need to
have anybody to
exclude-
address that in a committee form. So
have
I'm
an
just wondering, how do
exclusion.
we go about, addressing an issue that's irrelevant to budget or personnel is what I'm asking.
I don't know that you wouldn't strike that sentence that says any items not approved by at least one of the committees
That was gonna be my suggestion.
will not appear on the full quorum court agenda.
I mean, cause if I come to you and wanna put an item on the agenda that has nothing to do with either one of those committees,
Yeah.
why should I have to deal with those committees?
Yeah.
So I think what you're saying is kinda what I was thinking in mind with,
What's your
So
suggestion?
take out that whole section?
that would be my suggestion. I mean, I don't know what the court's thoughts are.
Well, really that whole section, cause that first sentence wouldn't apply either. Cause it says it's considered by one of the standing committees,
I kinda like it,
but,
because we do have a pretty liberal, I think we're gonna end up with pretty liberal, in a good sense, late agenda item. It's a simple majority to get it on there. And I think we're pretty reasonable with each other about, we let things be added to the agenda late.
I think the only thing that contradicts what David and Pam are saying is,
Oh,
yeah, any items not approved.
Yeah.
Well, if it's just a topic for discussion of the body of the whole,
Yeah.
you're not gonna have approval at a budget meeting.
That's
So
Same-
correct.
well,
discussions could be
resolutions.
accepted, right? We could.
you have like resolutions or.
Well, that's all a committee can do is recommend.
Yeah.
Yeah,
The committee has no authority really other than recommending.
Right.
So
So-
that's my point, is, you know,
Well, why don't we just change it to any items not considered by at least one of the committees?
say that again now.
Any items not considered by at least one of the committees will not appear on the full quorum court.
okay, so,
Because if you take it out
But-
completely,
Then
then let's
it's,
say the personnel committee, or the
Well-
budget committee doesn't recommend something to the full court, does that mean it still comes
Well,
because that's not in here?
If you
okay,
just say
here's the
considered, it's
thing,
really
though.
the
Y'all are
same
gonna be
thing.
voting on a lot of late item agendas then, because there's several things that come up that aren't budget or personnel that we have items considered by the
That's
full court.
okay, that's why we have a late item agenda option, in my opinion.
So,
I mean, that's what we're here to do,
okay,
in my opinion.
'Cause we're gonna have a
I'm
lot
one
of
of
that.
13, but that's my opinion, is if somebody's got some issue.
so like when they
that
send it
wasn't
in
turned
though,
in.
do I still put it under items to be considered, or because it's gonna be turned in beforehand? On a lot of those things.
Well, it's
like
not
what
a
I'm
late
talking
item
about.
if it's turned in prior.
But where does it go then?
It's after the deadline, so it is late.
Well, no,
No.
I mean,
Okay.
There's-
We're
She's
getting,
saying
we're
it is
complicating
turned-
this more than it
She's
needs
saying
to
it's
be.
turned in timely, but it doesn't fit under personnel or budget.
budget.
It's always been added as items to be
Items to be
considered by the
considered.
full court. We don't talk about it in the committee meetings till we talk about it in our.
But this is saying
Court
that
meeting.
if, unless it's already gone through the committee, you can't go
Right.
to the court, and I don't think that's appropriate, honestly.
and I don't either.
And so,
That's why I think if you said
the only way, and if you say any item's not
considered,
well, you're still saying it's gotta be considered by the committee. I mean, I guess what I'm saying is why is an item, why is painting that wall yellow, have anything to do with one of those, it's two standing committees. So, excuse me, so if somebody wants to add it prior to the agenda deadline, they should be able to do that. Any justice in here wants to do that, ought to be able to do that. And if it didn't make the deadline, then it can be added as a late item, agenda
okay,
item.
so basically kinda like what we're doing now, we're just taking this verbiage out, cause it
I think
doesn't
you ought
make
to take the whole
sense.
thing out, to be honest with you.
all of section C.
It was me, I think it should be. That's just my opinion, so. And that's the justification behind my opinion, is that if Justice Haney wants something on the agenda that has nothing to do with one of those two committees, he ought to be able to call you prior to the deadline and say, Pam, I mean, that's one of your responsibilities, is I want to put this on the agenda. If he calls you a day after the deadline and says,
Then
Pam, I
it's a
want to put
late
this on the agenda, and say, well, I can add it as a late item, but we can't guarantee you on the agenda until the court approves it.
Yeah,
But if it's something that's appropriate to be considered by the budget or the personnel
should go on the
committee,
budget
and they
or-
don't recommend it to come to the court,
Then it doesn't make it to the court.
where is that in there if we take the whole thing out?
Well,
Where's
but if it
that,
goes to
where's that
committee
in
and
this
isn't-
language if we take that whole
But
section out?
If something goes to committee and is not approved, it's not gonna go to court regardless.
And what
Period.
Jordan, I
That's
think, was saying
irrelevant.
there, if it, is sort of vetoed from going to, you know, a very few people in attendance has kept something off that 13 would
Maybe,
maybe
Right.
want to hear.
Yeah,
Maybe.
And that's what I'm saying, I think that the justices are due the respect, if they turn something in that they want this court to look at, they ought to have that right before it goes before a committee that really doesn't have anything to do with it. I mean, and what you're saying, Justice George, is that if it goes to the budget committee and doesn't get approved there, it's not gonna go to the court. Well, it didn't get approved, so it doesn't go to court. But it may, again, it may not have anything to do with money.
Mhm.
It may be something totally irrelevant to money.
And that's why I was saying items appropriate for the, you know, we're saying that some of these items doesn't fit, so they go into before the whole court. And my question is items that are appropriate for the budget or the personnel committee, not something that shouldn't be there. But if we're talking about a budget item and we're talking about it in the budget committee and the committee says,
Sure.
we're not gonna recommend this to consideration for the full court, then it
Then
doesn't
it
come. I
dies.
think we all
Right.
understand that.
Sure.
But if we remove all of section C, where is that now?
Well, that's.
Because
that's
it's
standard
saying,
procedure, though. I
in
mean,
section C, it's saying it has to be approved by the committee to come to the court. But if we take all this out, then that procedure no longer exists. So how does something get referred to or not get referred to the full court if we remove everything in this section?
Well, if
Yeah.
you just left that first sentence and put all quorum court agenda items pertaining to budget or personnel
I
will
just-
be considered
exactly.
by
That-
one
there
of the
you go,
standing
right there.
committees.
Yeah,
Then
and
you
I was
specify.
trying to come up with verbiage in my head that would make it work and still accomplish what we're wanting to do, but just removing it entirely, I think, you know,
But, yeah, I think I would hesitate that too. I think
Well, I
our
think-
idea, our concept is that the heavy lifting is done in the committees, and they do the pre-screening, but there are exceptions to that, so we want to make sure that we allow exceptions.
And then to add to that, if the court, you know, if the justice presents something to the court to be heard and the 7 justices don't agree that it ought to be heard, then guess what, gang? It doesn't happen. I mean, it's really pretty
So
simple.
basically, we're just kind of staying as we are doing right now. We're just gonna take this section out that doesn't make sense and add that verbiage there.
But you need to add the late item requiring
Yes.
7 votes back in there,
Yes.
Yes, that would need to be in there.
because it's not addressed otherwise, so
Correct.
That's
it
right.
needs to be right here.
Okay, so
correct.
if we say, take,
We talked about that,
Any late item agendas will require a majority of 7 votes.
and we talked about that last
Isn't
week.
that state law?
And
so take that section out and just add late right there. So if you had any late items, oh wait, I took too much out, hold on.
That's, yeah, I think you're right.
Just
Any
any
late-
late
that's
items
true.
will not appear on the full quorum court agenda unless it is added to the agenda by a majority. Will that work?
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm gonna add late
the
here.
judge the other night, and I think I sort of led the discussion on that. I wasn't wanting to remove the 7 vote part of it. I was just asking that we show a little more courtesy at times and let it come out how it comes out.
That's
As
essentially what
far
I'm
as
saying.
going ahead and talking about it. And it doesn't happen very often.
I mean, let the court run it through the wash.
I think what Bill's saying is have respect for one another to the point that if you bring a late item, let's entertain the late item.
right.
In general.
Okay,
Simply put, exactly. It's-
All right, look at this verbiage and make sure it's.
Should say all quorum court agenda items.
yes.
Agenda. Okay, budget. That looks right to me. As far as I know, what do you think, Judd?
Okay, so we're amending section 6, or numbers, section 6, C.
If I were being picky, and I might be, where it says, considered by one of the, the way it's written, it could be that the budget could consider personnel issues and the personnel could consider budget issues, so it could be by the appropriate standing committee. Do you understand the point I'm making?
You just define it a little more,
Yeah.
what you're saying.
Make sure that budgetary items go to the budget.
That work?
Yeah. By the, you can get rid of the one. By the appropriate, so get rid of one of, there you go. There you go. we do this enough years, we'll be perfect.
All right, is that amended to everybody's satisfaction? I don't see that that requires a
Thank you.
vote, since everybody's
No,
discussed
thank you
it.
for your consideration.
Nobody objects to that.
Do what?
I said thank you for your consideration on that.
So should we need to say all in favor or nay?
No, I
No.
think we
Okay.
beat that dead horse.
I mean,
Objecting.
All right, section 7. Any questions or comments? Section 8. Section 9. Section 10. Section 11. Section 12. All right, so we're to section 12B, and at this point, based on our discussions the other day, it was the court's determination to elect their chairs of the respective budget and personnel committees. Again, my nomination, so to speak, would have been Alan George for the chair of the budget and Jackie Heflin for personnel. I think we discussed that at length. But at this time, I'll entertain motions from the floor to nominate a budget chair.
I nominate Justice George.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to nominate Justice Alan George as budget chair. Do I have any other nominations from the floor?
I'd like to nominate Jackie Heflin as chairman for the,
Let's vote on this one
I'm
first.
sorry. Well, I'd like to nominate Bill Sparks as co-chair for the budget committee, please.
Okay, do I have a second on
Second.
that? I have a motion and a second from Justice Jackson. So the motions are for Justice Alan George to chair the budget committee, to be co-chaired by Justice Bill Sparks. There were no other nominations from the floor, so all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
I abstain.
Does this
As
go-
well.
Does this go
Me
into the
too.
ordinance?
Now,
Is
y'all
why
don't
we're
do that,
doing
cause
this?
then I gotta make
Does this
notes
go
and
into the
things.
ordinance? Is that why we're doing this? I didn't think so.
No,
Now,
it's just the procedure,
Well,
that
that's-
y'all want to do was to elect your own budget, and that's by law.
Right.
So,
Well,
we're
that's why I was
just,
wondering if it, I didn't think it would. go
yeah,
into
we're just
ordinance.
following state law.
Yeah.
All right, now I'd entertain a nomination for chair of the personnel committee.
I'd nominate Jackie Heflin,
Second.
chair of the personnel committee.
Have a motion and a second that Justice Jackie Heflin, chair of the personnel committee. Is there, anybody that would want to co-chair that?
I would nominate Justice Margaret Miley.
As a co-chair to the personnel committee.
Co-chair.
All right, do I have a second?
Second.
is she,
Second, Justice Ivy.
I'm sorry, I don't see her on the personnel committee.
Oh, yeah.
That's
Gotta
true.
be on committee.
Yeah.
You'll be on the committee.
And,
Yeah,
and
she's
isn't
not
it,
on there.
isn't it the case that if the committee's gonna elect their own, only personnel people would be able to vote for this one?
So we need to back up then.
Well, actually, yeah, even the votes we just took would be
Yeah.
by the committee themselves.
Yep,
Which is not gonna change anything, but it
Right,
would have to be by
right.
the committee and not.
By the committee.
I would nominate Blake Tarpley as co-chair.
Okay,
Personnel
well,
committee.
Let's back up to budget then.
Yeah, yeah.
yeah.
All right, so we're back, and we'll have to do a roll call for this amongst the budget committee people. So remember, the nomination was for Alan George to be budget chair and for
Bill Sparks.
Bill Sparks to be the co-chair. So you'll be calling the roll.
Sparks and Jackson, so that will still stay the same.
That's a good point.
Okay, and this is for
Budget.
chair. Sparks is nominating himself, and he said he was abstaining, so they can abstain, so.
I think
We
we're
need
gonna
to
have the
do
same
it one at a
outcome.
time, because if not, this is gonna be confusing to do them
Yeah.
both together.
Okay. So the first vote will be for Alan George to be budget chair.
You wanna say who those people are?
Okay, the voting members are Alan George, Aaron Carruthers, Philip Haney, Jamie Jackson, Margaret Motley, Bill Sparks, and Tim Wittenberg. All right, clerk.
So
I'll ask you to call the roll.
Alan George,
I'll abstain.
Aaron Carruthers,
Aye. Yes.
I'm where he's at on here, cause this is gonna be way out of order, so y'all, I'm sorry, this ain't gonna go in order because I've had to scratch out sheets. So, Philip Haney
Yes.
and Jamie Jackson,
Yes.
Margaret Motley,
Yes.
Bill Sparks.
Abstain.
Well, now, this one ain't for you, this is for George.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Yes.
And Tim Wittenberg.
Yes.
All right.
All right, motion is adopted. Now we'll be going for the co-chair of the budget committee, and that was a nomination of Bill Sparks.
And I had, George did that one. Is that Jackson? Okay. All right, so Alan George.
Yes.
Aaron Carruthers,
Yes.
Philip Haney,
Yes.
Jamie Jackson,
Yes.
Margaret Motley,
Yes.
Bill Sparks,
Now abstain.
and Tim Wittenberg.
Yes.
Okay.
All right, next we had a nomination for Jackie Heflin to be chair of the Personnel Committee. Those committee members are Jackie Heflin, David Ivy, Lane Scott, Jordan Sowers, Blake Tarpley, and Ronnie Wilbanks.
So we're gonna have to do our first and second over, cause people wasn't on there, so.
All right, so somebody that I just named off from that committee.
I nominate Jackie Heflin. Chairman.
Second.
All right, I have a motion, have a second.
Scott and Ivy.
Okay, so Jackie Heflin. You're
Oh,
first.
I abstain from myself, yes.
Okay, David Ivy,
Yes.
Lane Scott.
Yes.
Jordan Sowers,
Yes.
Blake Tarpley,
Yes.
and Ronnie Wilbanks.
Yes.
And also Alan George.
Yes.
Since he's on both.
Alan's on the personnel too?
Yeah,
Yes,
as
and
chair of budget, he,
That's not a good one, cause I didn't, that's the one before.
and
we
that
did
also
last
keeps
time.
them equal at four. It gives us 14 for 13 people.
And uneven numbers, too.
Yeah.
Okay, so now we're up to co-chair for personnel.
All right, and Margaret wasn't on that one, so again, Jackie's the chair, so now I
I
need to.
nominate Blake Tarpley as
Second.
co-chair.
Second.
All right,
Scott and Ivy.
Blake, do you take that?
Yeah, that'd be okay. Jackie's always here.
All right, so I have a motion, have a second, to make Blake Tarpley the co-chair of the Personnel Committee. All right.
Okay, so Jackie Heflin
Yes.
and David Ivy,
Yes.
Lane Scott.
Yes.
Jordan Sowers,
Yes.
Blake Tarpley,
Abstain.
and Ronnie Wilbanks.
Yes.
And Alan George.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
All right, that brings us to section 13. We have no subcommittees at this point, so.
Have we had any? What's an
We had a
example
jail
of-
committee.
Oh, okay, so that
Yeah.
was a subcommittee. That was a committee out of another committee, the jail committee?
Right.
And we, well, also several years ago, we had the medical committee
Mhm.
that was at the jail that.
That's right.
Jim had to
Yeah.
appoint.
Yeah. All right, section 14 has already been answered. Section 15. Section 16. Section 17. And section 18. All right, that gets us through item number 1. So item number 2 is the adoption of what we just went through, the organizational ordinance. I'd entertain a motion to adopt.
Second.
I have a motion, Justice Ivy. Second.
Grabbing a new set.
Okay.
Go ahead and start fresh. Okay. All right, so,
You have a motion, Ivy, second Jackson, to adopt organizational ordinance.
back up here to my type.
All right, ask clerk to read by title only.
Okay. Be it enacted by the Quorum Court, County of Pope, State of Arkansas, an ordinance to be entitled, an ordinance establishing the rules of procedure at all regular and special sessions of the Quorum Court of Pope County, Arkansas, and declaring an emergency.
Any further discussion or questions? If not, I ask clerk to call the roll.
Aaron Carruthers.
Yes.
Alan George.
Yes.
Philip Haney.
Yes.
Jackie Heflin.
Yes.
David Ivy.
Yes.
Jamie Jackson.
Yes.
Margaret Motley.
Yes.
Lane Scott.
Yes.
Jordan Sowers.
Yes.
Bill Sparks.
Yes.
Blake Tarpley.
Yes.
Tim Wittenberg.
Yes.
Ronnie Wilbanks.
Yes.
Ordinance is adopted. Item number 3, unless the clerk tells me different, we covered.
Yes, because y'all voted on that one ago.
Motion.
I don't think we need it. We've already
We're
voted.
done, we're done, okay.
All right, item number 4 is the appointment of liaisons to various departments. The first is the Election Commission. It has previously been Justice Sparks. I think he wants to step down from that
I
position.
would like to have a quarterback RPO here, but I want to hand it off to anyone that would like to have it.
So the Election Commission can meet several times a month, one time a month. It just depends on the election season. Is there anybody that would want to serve in that capacity? They
Yeah.
generally meet about 10 o'clock in the morning.
Could I make one comment? It is, there can be a lot of meetings, but you can also learn a lot about Polk County elections. And, you know, we hear so much about elections every day, but it's a worthwhile 2-year thing. Serving more than 2 years, is something else, but I would encourage people who are really interested in how the process works, because Pam gets involved in it from the county clerk's office, and you got the election commission. And I think Lane has had some experience, and
I've been election commissioner.
And Blake has been a commissioner, and it's a very important thing in this county.
I'd be willing to do it, but I wouldn't be disappointed if somebody else was really interested.
But you're expressing an interest in this other one too.
Yeah, so, again, either one.
I've done it before. We can't find anybody who wants to do it.
The pleasure of the court.
I think I'd prefer doing the election commissioner.
Over the other one?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. Does anybody want to nominate from the floor
I'll nominate Lane to be on the election commission.
Second.
as a liaison?
Liaison.
Yeah, right. What you said.
Yep. Do I have a second?
Yes, second.
Ivy? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. The next is the River Valley Alliance for Economic Development. That was previously Doug Skelton, and he's no longer on the court, so this is they meet once a month, sometimes more, depending on events that come up.
I'd like to do that,
I was gonna say, I'd like Blake
I
Tarpley.
nominate that Blake wants
Yeah,
to do that.
I'll
Okay.
second that.
So I have a motion that Blake Tarpley serve as the liaison to the River Valley Alliance for Economic Development.
Second, Wilbanks.
All right, have a motion, have a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Next up was the AAC. I think Justice Ivy's been doing that. You want to keep doing it, or?
I'd be
some-
glad to, if the court so wishes.
So this is the liaison to the Association of Arkansas Counties.
And nominate David Hager.
I'll second that motion, Wittenberg.
So I have a motion, have a second. Justice Ivy remain as the liaison for the Association of Arkansas Counties. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Now we're down to the library. Anybody wish to serve as a liaison to the library? Margaret, or somebody.
I'll nominate
If somebody,
Justice Lane.
that one good, I'll do
You would be good.
Yeah,
I'll nominate,
I want our history people involved in it.
I'll nominate Justice Sparks.
Okay.
Second, Wittenberg.
So I have a motion, have a second, that Justice Sparks serve as the liaison to the library, Pope County Library System. They meet once a month. That board does.
It's not near as stressful as election commission.
Yeah, that's right.
Just remember, Bill, we're not buying no Confederate cannons.
They have that over at Paris.
it. Politics and politics.
That's funny. You'd be coming in here for appropriation for,
That's what the investment fund's for.
gotta buy 100 cannonballs.
All right, everybody in favor of Justice Sparks serving as the library liaison, indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Now we're getting down to actual business.
I've got a question, point of
Yes.
order. You didn't really need our vote, you could have appointed, right, directly?
These liaisons,
Yes, yes.
I prefer not to.
Okay.
Yeah,
I
I
just-
prefer that.
I appreciate, I think it's good to have a discussion about that.
Yeah.
That was good.
All right. Item number 5 is an appropriation ordinance, and we have nobody assigned because we didn't have committee meetings, obviously. So this is an appropriation from the Circuit Court Juvenile Division Fund for juvenile probation. I'd entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion, but I don't know what it's about, but anyway, for $800.
And they're not here. I think
This is a grant.
it's a grant fund. It's grants they got in.
Second.
So I have a motion, have a second. Jackson, ask the clerk to read by title only.
Be it enacted by the Quorum Court, County of Pope, State of Arkansas, an ordinance to be entitled, an ordinance appropriating $800 from the Circuit Court Juvenile Division Fund for the Juvenile Probation Department.
Discussion or questions? If not, ask the clerk to call the roll.
Alan George,
Yes.
Philip Haney.
Yes.
Jackie Heflin,
Yes.
David Ivy.
Yes.
Jamie Jackson.
Yes.
Margaret Motley.
Yes.
Lane Scott.
Yes.
Jordan Sowers.
Yes.
Bill Sparks.
Yes.
Blake Tarpley.
Yes.
Tim Wittenberg.
Yes.
Ronnie Wilbanks.
Yes.
Aaron Carruthers.
Yes.
Ordinance is adopted. Item number 6 is an appropriation ordinance. This is also a grant.
I'll take that one, Judge.
Okay.
Second.
It's
Oh,
a,
go ahead.
okay,
I thought you.
all right,
So I have a motion, have a second.
yes.
Ask the clerk to read by title only.
Be it enacted by the Quorum Court, County of Pope, State of Arkansas, an ordinance to be entitled, an ordinance appropriating $100,000 from the Public Safety Equipment Grant Fund for the Grants and Aid Law Enforcement Department.
Discussion or questions? Again, this is a grant. Sheriff, coming from is it the AG's office?
Yes, it's a grant coming from the state, for law enforcement. And I think there's gonna be some more money left over, what I'm hearing, so we're gonna put our hand in the cookie jar one more time, see if we can get some more money, so.
Any further discussion or questions? If not, ask clerk to call the roll.
Philip Haney.
Yes.
Jackie Heflin.
Yes.
David Ivy.
Yes.
Jamie Jackson.
Yes.
Margaret Motley.
Yes.
Lane Scott.
Yes.
Jordan Sowers.
Yes.
Bill Sparks.
Yes.
Blake Tarpley.
Yes.
Tim Wittenberg.
Yes.
Ronnie Wilbanks.
Yes.
Aaron Carruthers.
Yes.
Alan George.
Yes.
Ordinance is adopted. Item number 7 is an authorization ordinance to transfer a old used police car.
Motion.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Ask the clerk to read by title only.
You said second, right? I heard her first. Okay. Be it enacted by the Quorum Court, County of Pope, State of Arkansas, an ordinance to be entitled, an ordinance approving and allowing the county judge to transfer a 2015 Ford Taurus title to the Sheriff's Department to the Arkansas Tech University Career Center and declaring an emergency.
This is similar to what we did with the old ambulance last year. This is just a police car that's going over to the Career Center for criminal justice students to do mock-ups out of. Any other discussion or questions? If not, ask clerk to call the roll.
Jackie Heflin.
Yes.
David Ivy.
Yes.
Jamie Jackson.
Yes.
Margaret Motley.
Yes.
Lane Scott.
Yes.
Jordan Sowers.
Yes.
Bill Sparks.
Yes.
Blake Tarpley.
Yes.
Tim Wittenberg.
Yes.
Ronnie Wilbanks.
Yes.
Aaron Carruthers.
Yes.
Alan George.
Yes.
Philip Haney.
Yes.
Ordinance is adopted. Item number 8 is a resolution to allow me to go into our next series of grader leases.
Make a motion.
Second, George.
Have a motion, have a second.
Second, Carruthers.
Ask clerk to read by title only.
Be it resolved by the Quorum Court, County of Pope, State of Arkansas, a resolution allowing the Pope County Judge to enter into a lease agreement with First National Bank, DBA First National Bank Leasing, to lease 5 cat motor graders for 60 months for a total amount of $1,360,354.44, with a buyout option of $1 for the Pope County Road Department.
Again, this is, for those that are familiar, we lease our graders and then we turn them in every so many years. Well, Caterpillar Finance, have stopped that program. And so the way the law has changed a little bit allows me to outsource, and I was able to find a better interest rate by going away from Cat Finance and going with, Mr. McCain, who's sitting right there in the blue tie. And I appreciate, he came here from Wichita, Texas today, and he can answer any of the technical aspects of this, but essentially we're trading in our 5 graders, getting 5 new graders, but at the end of this term, we will own them versus turn them in and going from that, because Caterpillar turned off the faucet. I think they realized they were sinking. But so anyway, I appreciate Mr. McCain coming all the way up to answer any questions today, and this is just giving me authorization to enter into this lease.
Is the term, so in 5 years, we will own them?
Mhm.
For $5.
For $5. Yeah.
Is this the best route to go?
Yes. It's really the only route unless we just start paying cash, and they're $285,000 a piece.
Yeah, I figured they were.
So,
Okay.
and realistically, we'll get about 10 years of service out of these. So, any other discussion or questions? If not, I ask clerk to call the roll.
David Ivy,
Yes.
Jamie Jackson.
Yes.
Margaret Motley.
Yes.
Lane Scott.
Yes.
Jordan Sowers.
Yes.
Bill Sparks.
Yes.
Blake Tarpley.
Yes.
Tim Wittenberg.
Yes.
Ronnie Wilbanks.
Yes.
Aaron Carruthers.
Yes.
Alan George.
Yes.
Philip Haney.
Yes.
Jackie Heflin.
Yes.
Resolution is adopted. The next 2 items are basically in conjunction with this, because I'll be coming back as soon as they get here with our trucks. We do the same thing with our dump trucks. That'll be coming in the probably February to March timeframe. But this will be appropriating money to make up the difference, because we'll be leasing trucks and graders.
Motion.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Ask clerk to read by title only.
Be it enacted by the Quorum Court, County of Pope, State of Arkansas, an ordinance to be entitled, an ordinance appropriating $128,380 from the road fund for the road department.
Discussion or questions?
What's the truck leasing for?
I don't know the trucks yet. Right now, we're paying about $5,700 a month for 5 of them. I anticipate that's gonna go up to 8 or 10 on the new ones.
And they're good for, what's the lease on them?
Those are typically been 3-year leases.
How many years we get out of them? Will we buy them the
No,
same way?
we
These are
can't,
leased?
because the law that dictated how that lease was set up will not allow you to buy them.
Okay.
So that's state law for you. But the law, like the graders, that's changed, and it allows you to basically lease down to $1 and then purchase.
Is it because of the particular type of equipment? Is that why? You
No,
can own a grader, but you
the
can't
law
own
has
a-
changed since we did that to
Oh,
allow
since you
this.
actually made
Yeah,
an agreement.
right.
So
So
it's
these
still-
next ones,
The
yes,
new law covers graders then,
and trucks.
and trucks and
Yes.
everything. It's just you got in under the wires. what you're
Right.
doing. Okay.
Any other discussion or questions? If not, I ask clerk to call the roll.
Jamie Jackson.
Yes.
Margaret Motley.
Yes.
Lane Scott.
Yes.
Jordan Sowers.
Yes.
Bill Sparks.
Yes.
Blake Tarpley.
Yes.
Tim Wittenberg.
Yes.
Ronnie Wilbanks.
Yes.
Aaron Carruthers.
Yes.
Alan George.
Yes.
Philip Haney.
Yes.
Jackie Heflin.
Yes.
David Ivy.
Yes.
Ordinance is adopted. Item number 10 is a transferring ordinance that will move these funds into the appropriate line item to pay leases, which is the 5,000 categories.
Motion.
Second.
Have a motion, have a second. I ask the clerk to read by title only.
Be it enacted by the Quorum Court, County of Pope, State of Arkansas, an ordinance to be entitled, an ordinance to provide for the 2023 fiscal budget to transfer funds that were previously appropriated from the road fund for the road department.
Discussion or questions? If not, I ask clerk to call the roll.
Margaret Motley.
Yes.
Lane Scott.
Yes.
Jordan Sowers.
Yes.
Bill Sparks.
Yes.
Blake Tarpley.
Yes.
Tim Wittenberg.
Yes.
Ronnie Wilbanks.
Yes.
Aaron Carruthers.
Yes.
Alan George.
Yes.
Philip Haney.
Yes.
Jackie Heflin.
Yes.
David Ivy.
Yes.
Jamie Jackson.
Yes.
Ordinance is adopted. Item number 11 is a resolution to the 911 board. Anybody?
I'll make
Mo-
that motion to accept,
Tammy Dugan.
Tammy Dugan to the EMS, board, is that right?
9/11.
911 board, yes.
Advisor.
Second, George.
Whose district does she live in? I mean, I don't know, right?
I do.
She's Morgan Road.
She lives in Tim's district.
Okay,
Yep.
That's why
I'm just curious.
And she's the one from Tech.
Good save.
Yeah, so she is Assistant Chief of the Tech Department of Public Safety, and she is she is filling the unfulfilled term of Dale Saffold, who just made EMS Director.
Right.
So she'll be fulfilling the rest of his term. Yes.
Just a informational, curious question. The EMS board is an administrative board, right?
Correct.
And this is an advisory board.
Correct.
I'm just curious why this is not an administrative board.
When it was set up way back when, they came online in May of 1994. That's how
And
they
it's just
set it
set up
up.
that way.
Yeah, I don't know why.
It had to do, back then, I was over there, and it had to do with the way that when they set up Enhanced 911, that was a federal dictate of how they had to set up the board. It had to be an advisory board, not an administrative board. Yeah, yeah,
Okay,
that was
cool.
that was one of the federal requirements.
Thanks, Ron.
Thank you.
Any other discussion or questions? If not, I ask clerk to call the roll.
I hadn't read it yet.
Oh, ask
Be
clerk to
it
read it.
Be it resolved by the Quorum Court, County of Polk, State of Arkansas, resolution appointing Tammy Dugan to the E911 Advisory Board.
Now, any further discussion or questions? If not, I ask clerk to call the roll.
Lane Scott,
Yes.
Jordan Sowers.
Yes.
Bill Sparks.
Yes.
Blake Tarpley.
Yes.
Tim Wittenberg.
Yes.
Ronnie Wilbanks.
Yes.
Aaron Carruthers.
Yes.
Alan George.
Yes.
Philip Haney.
Yes.
Jackie Heflin.
Yes.
David Ivy.
Yes.
Jamie Jackson.
Yes.
Margaret Motley.
Yes.
Resolution is adopted. Item number 12 is discussion of surplus investment. Justice Sparks.
Judge, this is sort of become an annual ritual here with us. We bring this topic up in January, and it's merely for discussion today because we like to go 2 to 3 months for our esteemed treasurer to tell us that, hey, we've moved along and we can start thinking about moving some money around. But for the new members, the importance of keeping this fund healthy means that we can be prepared for maybe an unforeseen situation, a disaster. Thank God we didn't have the flood that the other side of the river had a few years back. But it did give us an opportunity one year to buy over $300,000 worth of radios for the sheriff's department. That would have been a tough one to do if we didn't have that money. We bought the building next door. Out of our surplus investment fund, was able to, pay for that. And there have been a lot of other things, but I'm just kind of pointing those out, as those were big. And I think it's a credit to the quorum courts that we've had over the last several years that have seen us to be of some importance. And as we go along, everybody that's new to the court will, I think you'll appreciate it too. But what I would like to recommend is that we see about, and I've had some discussion with the treasurer and I've had discussion with Ben the last several months, and maybe around the March meeting, we could bring it pretty much to the court to start appropriating that money. We have done it quarterly before, and we've done it. Let's see, Larry, did we do a lump sum one time?
But traditionally, we do it every quarter.
Right, and that's worked fine.
But it helps leave the money in county general, so we all that interest on that money.
Yes,
Yep, all along too, instead of doing it all at once. That's the only benefit to it.
but that's just food for thought. A couple of months down the road, I'd like to see us, Pam, maybe the March meeting, and we'll know pretty much by then where we're at. If we don't need to do it in March, we won't do it, But I just wanted to bring it up for some discussion, anyway.
The only thing I want to think about, because I've always supported that and try and go along, and I'm still supportive of it. But with the amount we have in there, I think we've discussed that we've gotten, was it a little over 2 million, 3 million? What do we?
1.8 right now.
Okay, so
1.842.
I've talked to Ben too about getting over like 2 million, stuff like that in there, that it's hurting us on some grants. Is that correct? Getting grants, having so
Every time
much?
we apply for a grant, the first thing we have to provide is our bank accounts. We have to provide our statement of where we're at. We have to provide these sheets. And so we've not received a courthouse improvement grant in 4 years now. And one of the comments is, if you've got that much sitting over here in surplus, you can fix your own problems. And so we're kind of in a position where we're great. We're financially great. We just started the greatest year we've ever started. But when it comes to grants, the first thing they want to see is your checkbook. And our checkbook appears much healthier than other counties. And so I think, Bill, one of the things we talked about, and that is kind of just a rule of thumb, if we kept 10% of our general as that surplus account, then that's hard to argue that we're mandated by law to only appropriate up to 90%. I think this year we're only at about 82 cents on the dollar again. But so we're 10% below the threshold we're mandated by law, and we're still at over 10% of what our general fund is. So if general's at 13, 14 million, then that would tell you you needed 1.3 to 1.4 in surplus investment.
Question.
Yes.
Did I understand that if we take this money out, we don't draw as much interest on it if we put it over in that surplus investment?
No, sir, these are the same interest. We're drawing 0.42 above the federal discount rate. So
Okay.
the discount rate is 4.5.
Okay.
So we're drawing 4.92% today.
Okay, I misunderstood, then I thought he said if we left it in the general, we'd get more tax money than it would if we moved it over into.
I'm sorry, I may have not explained myself where, if we just do it in quarters, then that leaves that other amount of money in the general fund. So the general fund will get the interest on that money, we're gonna transfer to surplus instead of doing it all at one time.
Okay, so it's still getting interest wherever it's at. Okay, that's all.
I'm just trying to take care of the
My
general.
only concern, and I don't have a big disagreement with that at all. I think, we're starting to talk about, real money, and I'd wanna make sure that we were as careful with what we did do with that money, because, hey, times change. And, like I said, one night, the sheriff's department came in and told us we'd sure like to have $300,000 worth of radios. And I would just suggest that we really collectively figure out what we think Polk County needs in the event of a unanticipated disaster. And we're finding that these things are happening all over the place.
We had one last Sunday,
Yeah, and it could have been.
four floors above us.
Much worse.
Yeah.
And you've got people that, I know we don't own the power grid and everything, but they're shooting up utilities and what's to say that that these things won't lead to other things? And I just would like to see us agree that, okay, this is what we need to be able to tell the taxpayers that we want to try to keep. And still be able to, on those occasions that somebody comes in and needs something, be able to do it. That's where my passion on this thing is.
And I'm all for it. I mean, I want to do that, but I also want to try to get some of that grant money like everybody else, and if there's
But I don't want to
something.
throw away a bunch just to get
Get
some
some
to
back.
replace it, because that's not good.
No.
Any other questions, comments about surplus investment? And I have basically a running tally of everything that's been used on since 1987. And I can email you that, and you can see what it's been used on over the years.
It's been good having it the
Yeah.
last several years.
Also, we talked at the meet and greet that we need to have kind of a round table, we call them workshops, probably looking at having it after the February 2nd quorum court meeting. We ought to have a relatively small agenda. We can end that meeting and then just have a fellowship, talk, discussion. And I can tell you a multitude of places this surplus investment needs to go, starting with the second floor next door to us. And so there's a multitude of issues that all take money, and we'll discuss those capital projects. And I'll tell you kind of, I just learned this week, not only are we getting another judge, we're getting another prosecutor. There's no place to put another prosecutor. So we have growing pains, and those growing pains cost money, and we've got an entire upper floor over here that's useless to us until it's remodeled.
Will that be effective?
It depends on how they.
Election cycle?
The next election cycle. Now, the prosecutor will probably be boots on the ground next fall. But the judge, I think, will fall into the next election cycle. All right, any other comments from the public? Yes, Justice Scott.
Yeah, could you tell us some about the damage we incurred?
So in the attic above the fourth floor, we had 2 3-inch copper pipes, one split during that freeze, and it followed the path of least resistance, obviously, and pooled up mainly in the 3rd floor courtroom. It's about that deep in Judge Dunham's courtroom. And I came by here Christmas Eve twice. I went out to the coroner facility, the new coroner facility. It was froze up. I shut the water off myself out there. Then came back down here, everything was fine. Well, it was fine until it got above freezing sometime Sunday afternoon. And so Monday morning is when we discovered this water free flowing. Now, the good saving grace is the guys were here Monday working on the boiler system still. We've got the outside stuff about done. We're working in the basement now. And so we had 2 licensed plumbers sitting here working. We said, quit what you're doing there, let's come fix this. So me and Marcus's wife, we called in a janitorial service with a van, and we came and sucked all the water. The water made it all the way down to the 2nd floor. But thankfully, it kept to the center of the building where it wasn't burning up computers and stuff like that. Took all day that Monday that we were closed to get that and get the blowers going. And we capped off that water because it was running through what we call a dead unit. It's part of the circulation system. So we were able to cap it and seal it so it can't do it again. But
So all that stuff eventually gonna come out anyway?
no, that was just a unit that was sucking in fresh air. It was a fresh air unit, but this copper, 3-inch double copper, was going through that unit.
Okay.
Yeah.
So do we know the cost that we will incur over that?
Yeah, I paid Russell Janitorial $530-something, and I had to pay somebody. Oh, yeah, the plumber guys, because that wasn't part of their dig. So I had to just pay them as holiday double time plumbers, and that's going to run right $4,000.
And how about do we need some repairs done other than?
Right now, we're going to shampoo the carpets and see how they end up looking, and we'll have to go from there. I'm not turning in on insurance because right now I'm less than $5,000 into the problem, and yeah.
Do we have that tile to replace some of the tile?
Yeah.
Some of the tile damage?
Yeah, but I've ordered about 300 tile because every floor's got drips.
Is there potential for mold issue?
No, because we took all the tiles, left them out. All last week there was no cord up there. So we just left all the tiles out and left those turbine blowers going all week. So shouldn't have any of that. And in the coroner's building, when it thawed out, we turned the water back on. We didn't have any issues out there. And of course, everything above the slab's PEX, so that's a good thing. All right, now any comments from the public? I don't see no public, but they're here. Any announcements from the court? Have a motion to adjourn?
Who was my
Do I have a
motion?
second? Ivy. Who's my second? Motion and second to adjourn. All in favor say aye. Aye.
No birthday?
Motion carried.
January birthday?
418.
Yeah, I tried. That's right. Y'all haven't even decided tonight.
You know, there's
See,
still
like,
two
hey,
units.
that's,
As long as the system is on, there's water constantly moving. The problem is while they're doing this transition, there's not water circulating, but there's water in the lines. And once the system comes back up, heat or cool, it's running water constantly.
And the same out there, there was no water.
Right. Yeah. And out there, the whole building, and Danny's all, everything was working except for the kitchen sink